of all of the chances. I think about the defining moment in my life when I knew that it was something that was going to click or turn for my dad. And to this day, he still says it was that moment when he said, Daddy, if you don't want, I said, Daddy, if you don't want to do it for yourself, don't you want to do it for your kids? And since then, he's found even more purpose in living his life for his, for his seeds, for his children, when times he couldn't do it for himself. So I want you all to think about a moment, a pivotal moment in your life when you knew you had to grasp and grab this second chance, or you've been given a second chance and you knew that was the time that you were willing to change your life. So not everybody jumping at the same time. Ms. Thompson, maybe I'll start with you, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess for me, I first have to start by saying that I've been in the advocacy space for the past 11 years, working on various social justice issues from restorative justice, gun violence intervention, criminal justice reform. And I had no plans on doing any of this when I was incarcerated. I just wanted to do my time and come home and rebuild my life and live a normal, healthy life. And when I came home, Baba Yango Sawyer took me to a panel discussion at the Dorothy Heights Library and basically just pushed me to the front of the room and told me to go up and share my experience. And when I spoke, Mr. Thornton, Charles Thornton, was in the audience. And everything just took off from there. And my community, DC, created an opportunity for me to step onto a platform to take advantage of that second chance after serving 18 years in prison, after living a very traumatized life and growing up in Ward 8 and having a second chance to just be a law-abiding citizen and contribute to my community. And so I just attribute it to the elders in the community, to all of the people who fought over the years for us to have opportunities like the opportunities that was created for me. And I honor people like Mike Watts, who has been a mentor to me since I started The Wire, and Lamont Curry, who gave me the title for my book. And even Candace, for the work that we do today in gun violence intervention. We're together weekly, talking and strategizing about how we can improve conditions in our community. So my second chance, I knew that I had to take advantage of my second chance because I didn't feel like I had a choice. I felt like it was something that I was called to do. I was compelled to do. So it wasn't just about coming home and reintegrating into society, but actually making a difference to try to uplift my community.
Thank you. Lamont, I'm looking at you next.
Well, one, I think we all are fortunate that we are in the most progressive place in the country, if not the world, to take advantage of second chances. And that is strongly due in this moment because of our Mayor Muriel Bowser. A pivotal moment for me. So first, I just got to tell you, when I first got incarcerated, I was trying to trick God. I went to the little Bible study classes and everything, right? Singing church songs and everything, right? Knowing I had no intentions whatsoever to do right. And of course, God saw through me and said, I'm gonna sentence you, I'm gonna give you some time away. Because in all actuality, I probably would have lasted like 18 months before I would have been a statistic. But 5 years into my prison sentence, after spending like the last year and a half of having a cell buddy, that when the 4 o'clock count come and they coming around giving out mail and I wasn't getting mail. And I had committed my life to this loyalty to the group of folks that I was around, and I couldn't even get a letter written to me. I couldn't get a visit written to me. And so my initial reaction was anger, like, I'm gonna see them when I come home. But then I had got the GED, did pretty well, and got into the college program, and and I was in business management. They were talking about supply, demand, distribution, right? And I was like, I know that, right? That's why I'm here, right? And so then the final moment was I woke up in the cell with somebody that I didn't know that had been in my cell for like probably a week. And if for people that don't know, I mean, they could put anybody in your cell. So regardless of how hard you sleep, you learn to sleep light until you can trust this person because your life can depend on if you in a deep sleep. And then I went to God this time and like, if you help me change, I promise you that I'll never commit another crime. And so I started writing books because I started planning on, I am Black, I got violent felony convictions, nobody's gonna give me an opportunity. And so I started thinking about how can I legally make some money? And so that's the reason I started writing books in prison. And so I was content that regardless of what I faced coming home, that I was gonna stay in this to win. As LaShawn, I didn't choose. I thought I was gonna come home, sell a whole lot of books, run my mouth, make some money, lay on the beach and do all that. But I found myself in a community trying to save the younger me. And then one day I get a call asking me, did I know this position was open? And would I at least come in to interview for the position? And now I have the pleasure of serving DC residents that are returning citizens and helping them get on a pathway to the middle class. So and so I'll say this in closing for those that are within earshot. The second chance starts with you. Doesn't matter the programs that exist, doesn't matter the people that exist, you have to make a decision within yourself that regardless of what's going on, that I'm gonna stay the course to be legit. And the thing that happens with that, as with LaShawn, end up in a space being invited by somebody, being pushed to the front, and the world opens up for you. That's what happens in Washington, D.C. If you really want a second chance, there isn't a service that doesn't exist in DC that can help you get on that pathway to that second chance. And I'll say, if right now could be your pivotal moment, I'll say bet on yourself and let us support you in transforming not only yourself, but your communities as well.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart, you know something about betting on yourself. You know something about betting. Can you talk a little bit about your journey and your experience and when you decided to bet on yourself?
Oh, I got a mic, I'm sorry. I think when you come to realize that self-purpose, because at a time when you in the streets and everything is just about you, but once you get kids, the dynamics change. When now it's not about me, it's about them. So now once you taken away from them, you bring harm, not just to your child, your family, your loved ones. So I had to realize there's no more straddling the fence. You either gonna be in the streets or you're gonna do something positive. So now you can be that leader for your child to see the progress and positivity and things that you're doing that can make change and better for them. So what I did was I realized that coming up, I wanted fast money, but I realized the harm that it brought amongst myself of being incarcerated. So I looked at the problem that was going on in the city, which was transportation at the time. And I said, you know something, I can start a transportation for people with situations such as mine, with disabilities and seniors. And I hooked up with Project Empowerment. I mean, I joined Project Empowerment. And Charles Jones came to me about the entrepreneurship program, which was Expire. And I told him I got some great ideas. I think I'd be a great candidate for it. And he enrolled me and I never looked back since, you know. So now, you know, it's just about, to me, it's about what you want out of life. The more you put into it, the better it can, especially if you're doing the right thing. So it's a journey, but it was a positive journey where it took a lot of weight off my shoulders, worrying about the streets, worrying about what comes along with it. So I'm here to say, about the second chance thing, I think it's mental too. Like that health, mental health, that plays a major factor in life changes and doing the right thing because of the upbringing where some people come from. And like I say, I mean, you didn't ask the questions yet where I get more into that, but it's mental health. You got to really want change for yourself first before anybody else.
Well, let's talk and let's unpack the mental health piece. And Ms. Caroline, you see a lot of people and you've seen a lot of people. What are the challenges that you are seeing in the people that you're serving, that you're in contact with, that you're supporting? Is mental health prevalent? Are there I have this theory, especially when it comes to women that are incarcerated, that sometimes they're economic decisions that lead to a conviction, but what are you seeing?
So one thing I'm seeing is, yes, to answer your question, I do see the mental health. I see the trauma. And before we even get to that point, I see that there is a lack of acknowledgement for the individuals that they are experiencing trauma because it is so normal. They've operated in this space for so long. This is their norm, right? So maybe being someone who hasn't experienced that type of trauma, I'm able to see, oh, wow, or to hear the stories and just know how they're operating each day, maybe sometimes in survival mode, when now it's time to put some of those tools to the side for thrive mode, right? So I do see the mental health, I see the trauma, and I also see for some, the willingness to address it, right? The willingness to address it and to address it in non-traditional ways. It doesn't always look like, let me sit down with this one person. Sometimes it may just be getting air, breathing. It may be getting from out of this environment, right? So you've been incarcerated for some years and then you're back into this environment. But how do you get away? Exposure, right? Therapy too, absolutely. Therapy too. However, it takes it all. It's not just one dose of intervention that's going to fix it. It's multiple things.
And what about we've talked a little bit about families. What about for the families of individuals that have been incarcerated and are returning home? Are you also seeing trauma and stress or concern? But what does that look like? What does that come to the surface with?
It's a strain in relationships. It's a lack of trust. It's a lack of trust in individuals within the family, within government. So those community workers who are saying, hey, they've been there, they've done that, right? So it's a trust issue there. I see that strain. The healthy relationships, depending on individuals to do the same thing the way they did it before, but expecting a change. That's heavy. It is definitely prevalent in some family units. I want you to be different. I don't want you to get locked up again. I want you to stay home, but still do every single thing you were doing before. No, we got to switch it up. We have to do something different so I can stay home. And the family has to welcome that. The family has to be open to that and support that in however way that looks. It's going to be different.
So we've talked about programs, and really there's a plethora of programs in DC. I mean, DC is resource and program rich. We've talked about support. What can, and I want to open this up and make this broad, but what should support systems look like, both from a government and programmatic perspective to even a family unit and loved one perspective? What should these support systems look like so we can support people who are reentering and coming home?
Can I say something on that? What I think is that for DC residents, I think that we should have like an agency that goes into the jails before coming home and kind of do assessment with the individuals that are returning back to society, which we can see where their skill set at. We can see their mental health, their physical health. We can give them resources regarding employment, regarding any situations that they might be addressed with or that they're going to be addressed with when they come home. Even I guess the employment, like we said, like just let them know that's what's out there. You know, who you can get in contact with, who you can call. How can we help you get your driver's license, your ID? These are the main things that returning citizens are faced with when coming home. And second is, please, the skill set, because you can't send them to these job sites and they're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a chance. I mean, it's not a good thing on behind them for, you know, permanent if they unaware of how to do this and do that and do these things. So I think the assessment piece is really vital for going, I mean, you know, when going in these prisons to talk to the ones that's about to come home.
So I just made a mental note of that, Mike Watts, since we're gonna be doing some work with Stacy with DOC, so we need to incorporate some sort of assessment. So, okay, so I hear assessment, assessing readiness on all levels, mental, physical, job readiness. Resources. So what kind of resources? In the Aspire program, we thought it was really important and valuable. If we're going to talk about entrepreneurship in a real way, we needed people to have seed money. It's really difficult, we know, to start a business without seed money. So what other kind of resources should we be thinking about?
I think, well, I don't want to be biased about it, but the situation when you start in these programs that say entrepreneurship, put it on the table actually what it is. Don't have them thinking out of my course, oh, I'm about to open up a hair salon, I'm about to open up a barber shop. I think you need to let them know exactly what this entail, what we giving up, what we not going to do, and what we're going to do. Because once I heard the program, I try to figure out, all right, what is the limit that they giving us, one? So I won't go in there thinking that I'm about to open up this big car wash or detail, you know. So when they told us that it's a limit of cap of how much they're giving us, so what I did was I just made my business under $5,000 because I knew they was giving us that. And whatever else I had, I could put towards my business. But just give them the actual facts of what's going on so it won't be a letdown. Because a lot of them thought it was this, that, and it wasn't. But the point is, it still gave us an opportunity to at least tap into becoming an entrepreneurship where you're learning how to start a business, getting the license. You know, you're learning the basics. That was the best thing about the program, is that you learn the basics if you wanted to become an entrepreneurship. I just figured out how much they're giving us, what I can start within that $5,000, and I can make it happen myself with that.
So Lorenzo, what I hear from that, and I sometimes tell my staff this, is that people respect honesty.
Exactly.
They may not like it, but people respect honesty. If you come to them in a real way and you're honest, people can do something with that. And there's a lot of harsh realities and there's a lot of harsh truths that are out here that if we were honest, people can navigate. So I want to open it up to the rest of the panel and talk a little bit about truths and reality. What are the harsh realities and truths that we need to know about re-entry and returning citizens that people are not talking about, so we can try to support both the person that's coming home and the family and support system that has wrapped around the individual?
So, so the IDs, the birth certificates, things that you were talking about, that's one of the things that MORCA helped return the citizens with, as well as we're going into a DOC and meeting with those that's getting ready to release so we can do the intake to find out what some of the needs are. But when we're looking at the Federal Bureau of Prison, where our individuals are housed at, we run into the Privacy Act. And so we're always in conversations on how we get that information. But in terms of what reentry really looks like, when I spoke earlier, I mentioned two things: having to sleep lighter because of strangers in my room. And I talked about not receiving mail from family and friends that I was engaged with. So those are two traumas One creates abandonment issues, right? The other can create paranoia, right? And so one of the things that I know we always stressing that we need the community to see us and give us a second chance, but our families, sometimes our families don't adjust. They say it's jail talk, right? Because I used to hear it all the time that it's jail talk. And so they're cautious of us. I know I had to use somebody else's address to get home because I learned 5 years later after being home that my family thought if they moved me in with them that the feds was gonna be running up in their house because I'm gonna be back to the old Lamont. And so I didn't get that chance. But the thing that we need from family, we gotta figure out how we forgive each other. And we gotta figure out, is my loved one that I'm talking to that's calling me on these jail calls have actually changed? One of the things you could do is a return on investments, right? Because when we create a program, we gotta show what's the outcomes. And I think if you know your loved one is incarcerated, they don't have a GED. If you know your loved one is incarcerated, they don't have no work experience, then I think it's important that when you were conversating with them, that you encouraging them, right? Because at a minimum, you're gonna need a GED when you get out here. And one thing you also have to know, there hasn't been a penitentiary that I've ever been in where I had to go to school or I had to be working. And then a lot of times when individuals come home, because they just saw that as a place of confinement, they don't realize they are bringing home some skill sets that are transferable into the workforce. And one other thing that I've noticed, depending on the security level of the institution, generally when you go to a maximum security prison, people are more focused, right? This is what I want to do when I come home. I've been working on this. Here go my business plan. This is my ideas. And then the lower you go to like a minimum or camp, they more like, man, I don't know, I just want to do a job. But also it's the lie sometimes that I told when somebody did accept my call. Lamont, what you gonna do when you come home? Man, I'm gonna work. Where you gonna work? It doesn't matter. But I knew that I was not gonna go work at McDonald's and you be cussing me out about your French fries being warm, right? I also knew I needed them to pick up the phone the next time I called. And I knew that the dreams that I had was gonna be far-fetched for them and they're gonna be shooting it down. And so I think one of the most important things is that when we contact you or when you communicating with us, right? Ask us what it is that we want versus saying, because it trickles out here. We'll usher them to construction sites. We'll usher them to restaurants, but they have desires like me. I wanted to wear a suit, right? In prison, it's an art gallery. They drawing, they're writing, they're painting. You're seeing that some of y'all done got them cards, them birthday cards, that somebody done made, somebody else done wrote a poem, and so the creativity is there. And when we're speaking of entrepreneurship, everybody in prison got a business. Everybody. And so one of the challenges is with our family, what is it that you want to do? And you all responding back what it is that we need to do. We need the GED. You need to get in this program so you can have a skill. You got some mental health issues and you're seeing a therapist or psychiatrist there. Like you being more in support of saying, do this, get a return on your investment. If you're making visits, if you're sending money, making sure, encouraging us to be participating in things. And one of the biggest things that I see that I'm gonna shed up is that we go from OGs on the compound to old men in the community. And sometimes that can contribute to the recidivism, right? I'm the best basketball player. I'm the best mentor on the compound, but out here won't even have a conversation with me. And so there'll never be enough housing. And so it's gonna take family to forgive us, to invite us in so we won't be on the shelter and dealing with all those other stresses. And ask them, when you got in trouble, what would you get in trouble for? Because I know a lot of fights are between cell buddies, because one isn't as clean as the other, one is noisier than the other, right? And those are kind of things, when we talk about institutional behavior, learning those things from your loved one can help them begin to address them.
Thank you. Thank you. You said something about recidivism, and I want us to stay there for just a moment and talk about recidivism, because not all of our brothers and sisters have had the same experience. They go back, they go back, they go back. Can we talk about the truth with recidivism? Is there any, I mean, you all have each shared a little bit about what was your defining moment that you decided you were going to make a change or do something different so you didn't go back. What should we be doing to support people so that they're not facing recidivism? Is there, is it a job? Is it a house? Is it mental health? I mean, is it all of those things? Is it exposure? But how do we truly fight recidivism and get people to not put themselves in a position or find themselves in a position to return back?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Mhm.
And I just want to say, for me, the women who I saw coming in and out of incarceration were usually struggling with addiction.
Mhm.
And it usually was the result of trauma that they experienced at a young age, sexual abuse or other sorts of trauma. And they never got the rehabilitative or therapeutic or substance abuse support that they needed. And as Lamont said, their support system was basically in the prison. So they would get out and come back. But those women, when they were incarcerated, they were basically like the village. They were our aunties, our mothers. They basically raised us and helped to guide us as we rehabilitated ourselves. So like, I don't feel like the system rehabilitates. I think it's the people that are within the system that rehabilitate themselves, and they also help to transform each other. So what we need is pretty simple. Like, we need substance abuse support, we need trauma and therapeutic support, and we need parenting support. Because for me, my biggest challenge has been family reunification. And I think it's the same for all of my friends who serve time in prison. So now you come home, you've been in prison, your child grew up while you was in prison, you come home, your child is experiencing severe trauma as a result of your absence, and then they have children. So now we're dealing with the third generation of the impact of incarceration, because I'm a grandmother. I'm 50 this year, and I'm the matriarch of my family. So all my sisters are deceased. All my nieces and nephews look at me as I'm their great aunt, but they look at me as their grandmother. So I have the responsibility of trying to help to guide my whole family, basically, to help them to understand the impact of making the wrong choices and how it can have a cyclical impact on our family. So I think I love the question you asked, what do we need? Because the government has a responsibility to like provide oversight for programming, make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, and we're being responsible with government funding. We also need to be compassionate and show some consistent care to the people that we're serving. Because at the end of the day, they're human beings, and they're suffering through a lot of trauma, and sometimes it may not fit into the program scope. We got to be willing to think outside the box, and we need to do more to educate families, as Lamont is alluding to, so that they'll understand what that experience has been like for us, so that they can be more compassionate and more forgiving. It's like we just want to deal with one piece of the puzzle, want to deal with the people that's coming home, but it's not effective. Because if you're not helping the children and the grandparents and the extended family that has to support me, and you're not helping me really, because I'm coming home, I'm grinding, I'm trying to go to school, I'm in transition, I'm trying to get a house, I'm surprised recidivism is not higher because of the stress that we deal with when we come home from our families. It's not the community. And like you said, the programs is there, but if you don't have the support of your family as a woman, if you can't regain your place as the matriarch of your family, I'm not surprised you relapse. I'm not surprised you get so stressed out that you make unhealthy choices. So we just have to do a better job at being more compassionate towards the human beings that we're serving when they come from incarceration, and think about the whole family.
So I'm getting the signal here. I love how we've been chopping it up and talking, that we've almost run out of time. But we have an opportunity to take some comments and questions from the audience. So I'm going to see if there's anybody in the audience that has anything to say. Oh, we do. Okay, we got a couple people. Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. My second chance moment came when during incarceration in Fluvanna, Virginia. I think I was serving 3 years, and the mother intuition kicked in and just told me to call home. And I was so anxious, I dialed the wrong number, and the person on the other line accepted the call. And I told her what it was, and she said, well, I'll make the call for you. It's the only one I can make for you. Don't know you, but I'll make it for you. And she made that call for me, and lo and behold, I became a grandmother. My daughter had her baby. So it was that moment that said, hold up, generations are actually coming from you.
Yes.
You have to do something. So that was my second chance, but that second chance didn't come. I'm now on my 4th or 5th, because during that time, my family fed my daughter all the horror stories. So it changed a lot between us. So I didn't grasp that second chance. I was given that second chance as I thought I was, because it was interfered with. So I today am on my 4th or 5th chance, and I have no gripes about it. I take pride in it because I haven't stopped. In regards to the things that need to be done or suggesting in regards, because I myself, 8 times out of 10, when I'm released, I'm coming out of the hole, and I done probably a year in there. So that's 23 and 1. My eyes are messed up. I don't have any people skills. I don't want to be bothered with nobody. So going in there and seeing where the mental state is of those that are coming out is very important, because I don't know how to grasp. I don't know how to deal with y'all no more. I've been locked up in a hole for 23 hours a day, so I don't know how to deal. So going in there and seeing that mental state of that person is very important. Also, confidence building and makeovers could be added too, because you have people that's been hustling all their life, and like me, and there's no problem with me going back out there. So I have to have that confidence that says that you're worthy of this. You are capable of this. You can do this. They need you just as much as you need them. But also, I'm such a street person, I have to be able to wear that confidence. So that's where that makeover comes in at. For those that are so used to being my t-shirt, my jeans, if they take me, they do. They don't, because I know where to go. So those are just some of the things. I'm gonna leave it there because I'm getting a little emotional, but thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that story.
Mike.
I'm a returning citizen, right? And all that the panel discussed, I'm aware of, because I come back under the Murray age when Lawton closed and all that. So I come up in that. And when you discuss things about what can be done, because you got to go to the prisons. Talk about these high security prisons. I spent 13 years in them, right? So it's nothing coming in there. Nothing about no returning. So that's sort of like obsolete. Personally with me, I did my homework before coming home. And that's the transition. I'm gonna say this real quick and leave it alone. The worst person to be around is somebody with no hope. They coming back out here. I'm just saying it's not to do nothing, because people don't know. You only are what you know. You see what I'm saying? So when I hear, usually I don't attend these. I'm gonna say this, why? Because they are photo ops to me. I don't do it. I speak for the people that's coming. I do a lot of community work. And just like the sister you touched on, it's a lot of daughters, granddaughters, and mothers in the same prisons. I got an invite with somebody to discuss some stuff like that about grandmothers taking care of the children's. And because you on Section 8, you can't come in those places. But the guy gave me an invite, and I be sort of like burnt out because I'm on a no nonsense thing. I don't have time. I don't have no breast. I ain't doing nothing with titty feed, none of that. It's real simple with me, but I hear the things. DOS has been around with me from the 80s. I watch them come up. I watch CSOs and all that. I was in a group that tried to bring not parole, but bring the prison Lawton back to DC. The community, I don't know if y'all know about community, that was a shot, that was dead. They got rid of that lease and Lawton wasn't coming back. But this was your same community that you say want us back. But at the same time, then I got touch bases with the senator before he died. And he told me, he wrote in a memo, he said, what your city did to you no other state would ever abandon their prison.
Mm.
But he couldn't do nothing for us because Eleanor Holmes was our representative. A lot of brothers died when they went to the feds because what they did with the feds was separate us. When they go to wreck, we couldn't. And you know, when you let us go back, we ain't going back until something happens. You know what I'm saying? So we has always been looked at as, you know, I mean, violent prisoners or whatever. Again, you know, I commend all of you because that information is power. But to start, you need to go reach out. I talked to they had a event in the court building, which CSO said, and they made us go. Now I'm doing everything parole tell you, maintain employment and get a job, and they making you go. This is the undercut stuff. And then, you know, I'm saying, they said, you ain't got to go, Mr. Aiken. You know you're going. Say, I'm being threatened. World got their foot on my neck. Now you want to twist it. So I'm going to let you, you know, same thing with the ex-offender place. The one that you mentioned, I went down there trying to get a job. Got something with DPW. I asked him about housing, my case manager. Didn't know anything about it. He said, you should have been getting housing when you got that day. And I had to ask him, can I close the door for a minute? And I had to go on him and let him know it's people like you. You come home, see the difference between me and them, I ain't on parole. And y'all can say, well, do what you want to do because you gonna call back, then we can't come in. All that. This is the under stuff. But I ain't gonna get into all that, but the resources, I mean, I think they need to be well in there. You talk about reentry, it shouldn't happen when you reenter. I was lost. Tell you, when I came home, I felt like a tourist. And I got a national anthem that I had used in prison. Fuck it. But then now I'm grown, or now I'm grew. I don't do that. I advocate. I'm in the gun violence thing. I do a whole lot of stuff because they ain't playing. And then, I mean, action about me is action. And because, like I said, I left a lot of brothers. Some dead, some ain't gonna come back. And they ain't gonna never see this. So I speak through a vessel. And every way I speak, from the councilman, to anybody. Well, like you want my vote, 3 sets of people: the homeless, returning citizens, and the seniors. You ain't talking about what you getting ready to do. Have a nice day. I don't even deal with it.
And so we're gonna wrap with this one last question.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm speaking on behalf as a family member. I'm one of 11. So my youngest brother was gone for 15 years. I have a husband and a family of 4. So I set up a place for him to come home. When he was coming home, I fought for him to come home. I also reached out and found out about the programs here. My son will bring him to the program, but I think it's a mindset over the matter. He ain't want to stay, or he thought the class was too long, or they taking too long, I'm leaving. He came straight out. I think parole is a good thing. Where you have someone, you got to check in, you got to make sure you go find some place to work or go to school, get educated. He came straight out after 15 years. So he going back to he think was familiar, but the streets change. You know what I'm saying? No, nobody love you out there. Your family is there. I was sending you money and everything, making sure and talking to your lawyers and make sure you had the ability to come home and have something to go to, a program that's willing to help you. Yes, there's a lot of programs in DC if you want it. You know what I'm saying? People saying that there's not enough out there, or they got to research and yeah, you do. I did the research for you. I wasn't incarcerated. I made sure you had a place to come to, food to come home to, food to eat, a place to sleep, clothes or whatever. But he chose the opposite. So what does that say about the families that are willing to do and give up and do more for you? Yes, I think it should start in the inside. They should have more people to come and help, and even a mentor program or buddy system once they do get out. Who's going to be responsible? Who's going to call and check up, sort of like an AA group or whatever. I came from a father who was an alcoholic and didn't get a good relationship until he was 40 and fighting cancer. But I fought for that brother who was incarcerated for 15 years, but he came home to do the opposite when the place was set up for him.
I would just say one thing about that. You planted a seed and you did your part. And sometimes people don't change after the first chance. It take a second chance or a third chance. And I just pray that you'll see the fruits of your labor at some point.
I know we're close on time. But I'm gonna let us go for, let's do, oh, we have a whole lot of, okay.
Man, right there
We
first.
got, can we do two more?
Two more. Yes,
Two
ma'am.
more?
Right, people really have something
Yes.
they want to talk about.
Yes.
How you doing? I just want to say, coming from being incarcerated for 20 years, I totally agree on what Ms. Thompson spoke about the trauma piece. My awakening moment is just been recently, to tell the truth, to be honest, because when I came home, I felt like a fish out of water. I knew the resources was here, but I didn't know how to use them. I didn't know, and then the shame and the guilt of being incarcerated and losing my mother, all of that, COVID came, everything just came back to back to back. So I really didn't know what to do, which in turn led me to start drinking. I really want to speak to women and men that's incarcerated to let them know that they're not alone, because it's overwhelming when you come back out here into society and you don't know which way to go. You're trying to do this, you're trying to do that, and you're trying to do it all on your own, So I'm not ashamed no more. I want to share my story and tell somebody else. I've been through Project Empowerment. I'm a little nervous, y'all, but I've been through treatment. God is good. Tomorrow I have 6 months clean.
Congratulations.
I just really want to I just want to help people and let them know that they're not alone. Like that movie Shawshank Redemption, I totally understand how that man felt when he came home after 30 years. I don't want to kill myself, but it's so overwhelming. And I have to learn. I'm learning now to be patient with myself, because I'm not going to learn everything in 4 years. It'd be 4 years in June, but I'm not going to learn everything in 4 years that I lost in 20.
Yes.
And I was trying to rush myself, trying to get here, get this, get caught up and back acclimated to society, the phone, technology, just everything that they don't prepare you for when you're in there. And I'm still learning, but I want to let other people know that it's okay. You know what I mean? People have trauma, but you can also fall victim to addiction once you get out here, because you just threw out.
Yes.
Once you get out, they just throw you out. You know what I mean? And I want to show people that it's okay. Let them know that it's other ways. Like I'm still searching, and I'm gonna keep on, and I'm gonna keep on pushing, no matter how many times it takes. But I just really want to advocate for people, men and women, because it's hard. It really is. I'm still learning, but I'm keep continuing to learn. Thanks for letting me share, y'all.
Thank you. Oh.
So I just want to say that I am a product of Project Empowerment 5 years ago. But before Project Empowerment, I was a new mom. And before that, growing up in DC, being a child that got put out of every school because of being misunderstood, because of my attitude, because of different things at the time, or things that I was going through when I was younger, that I didn't have the resources at the time to help me. I had a praying grandmother, I had faith. But as far as us as the Black community addressing mental health, and if you're a child and you've been through stuff as a family, you have a family that's dividing, you've been through things, and as you grow and then you outside, and then you live in this life, because you gotta go to school. So then you're dealing with stuff in school. So then you're dealing with this. Then you can go home, and maybe your home is not where it need to be. So now you back dealing with that. But people are labeling you, So now you have people, teachers or people labeling you instead of trying to help you.
Yes.
And with that comes different things within the community, because now you can be looking for different things. So by being in the community and being in a situation where, throughout the time, I was able to learn how to adjust, how to take the things that I had before and how to adjust. So when I came here and I did the program, I was like, wow, all of this stuff before, I was in a transition in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I got what I needed. Did I get anything I needed right away? No. But the tools, the essence of the tools, I was getting locked up. I had to do 30 days over CTF. You know what I'm saying? When I got there, it was women who threw their lives away for a man, for maybe killing their mother boyfriend because he put his hands on her, or doing anything. What you say, those women are the women that shape the village. Like, you don't need to be back in here. What are you doing? You know, this is what you need to be doing. I'm on a program unit. You hear me? Like, I'm stomping, learning the states and all of that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I was able to be around strong, still Black women
Yes.
who were able to tell me, this is what you need to do when you get back out here. And honestly, I got stepped back. I had to go to Luke Seymour. So if anybody knows, it's a yeah, you know.
Alternative.
Yeah, but I went and I was in classrooms with people that was younger than me, and I was trying to get a high school diploma, you know, but I went every day because I was going for me.
Yes.
So I was going every day and doing what I need to do. And I had a little brother. He just came home. He went to Project Empowerment. Had 8 years. We did 5 years out the feds. And we was young. I was like, bruh, they're going to get you when you get 18. You need to slow down. I'm telling you, when I turned 18, you know, they gave me 30, boom, because I wasn't in compliance. He still was in his jam. He wound up going to jail. And he said, Shay, prison helped me, you know, because he had an addiction and because he needed to slow down. If he was still here, he probably would have gotten, you know, killed. But he came through the program and it was able to help him, you know, but me being a sister, I already went through something. I tried to gate that before he did it. Like, bruh, please, I don't want this for you. You know what it did to Mom when I was locked up for 30 days, you know, and it was only 30 days, but it felt like 2 years, 6 months. You know, I like to be glam, you know. You know, so I like to do a lot of stuff. I was in there making cakes, all that. But it was.
And what are you doing now?
Oh, I just want to say yes. After that, and I had Mr. Ricky Lewis. He was my facilitator, and I always tell people he was a person, one of the people that changed my life. Also, as a Black man,
Yes.
because I needed polishing. You know, and that's why I tell people, get what you can because it's seeds along the way. You need to polish. If I was in Project Empowerment at the time and were able to and got what I have now, I probably wouldn't appreciate it anymore. I probably wouldn't know what to do with it. So people come in here with this image like, oh, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that, I want this, but are you ready? Are you ready?
And where are you working now?
Oh, working for
She still ain't say this.
DOES. She works for DOES. Y'all give this a applause. She works for DOES.
Thank you all so much.
Oh, hold on 1 second, Spencer.
Yes,
Hold on
ma'am.
1 second. This is the power. This is the power of second chances. This is what happens when you believe in people. You bring them back to do the work. You bring them back to do the work. So not only is she going to help her child, but she's going to help other women and other people. Amen. This is the work that we're talking about. And I know you all, I always say, for those who know me, you know, I love the Isley brothers, but I say we got work to do, right? This is the work that we're doing. This sister right here who was in our program works for the Department of Employment Services and the same program that poured into her life. This is the work right here.
And you see me hugging people and you see me doing this. It comes from the heart. It comes from being that person who wanted to see a smile when I walk through the door.
We love you, sis.
I want to thank our amazing panelists. Y'all stand to your feet and give the panelists a round of applause.
Wow.
This is Second Chance Month. So this is just the beginning. We have a job fair on Wednesday, thank you. We have a job fair on Wednesday. We have 90 employers signed up. I have over 900 people registered to attend. We have a policy hackathon where we will bring people from policymakers, Department of Labor, Executive Office of the Mayor, employers to talk about what can we do from a legal and policy perspective. We can talk the talk all day, but y'all, I'm fighting for the dollars and we need the money to make this happen. So we're going to talk to the policymakers on Wednesday and Thursday. And then I think we have one more event, entrepreneurship resource fair at the end of the month. So stay tuned. Happy Second Chance and Reentry Month. And thank you everyone for their time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our panel. Everyone, there will be refreshments available on your right.
Oh, and also